The 2024 R&G British Talent Cup continues here at Oulton Park this weekend. Let's have a look at some highlights from the second race, though, the last time we saw these riders out at Thruxton. Marco Morelli took a commanding victory on board the Fibertech Honda, MLAV Racing shipping him over from their European Talent Cup programme, and so he would go on to take a very commanding lead in race 2. Problems, though, for Ryan Frost, unfortunately, is he would retire with a technical issue. It all kicked off, though, further back. Lots of action at the fast and frantic Thruxton circuit. You can see Julian Correa, along with Philip Soroviak, Lucas Brown, as well as Emmanuel Brinton, all involved in the action. Morelli would eventually go through into the race lead, as unfortunately we lost one of the riders from the leading group. This is Soroviak repaying the favour on Correa as the 95 of Morelli cleared off into the distance and would go on to take a second victory in his one and only weekend of the R&G British Talent Cup in 2024. Race 1 of the R&G British Talent Cup in 2024 here at Oulton Park. Just 2 weekends worth of racing left to go. Very excited to see what is going to happen. This is Harrison Mackay. He's on the outside of the second row of the grid on board the Wilson racing machine. Ryan Frost, possibility for the championship coming into this weekend, and he's got a new teammate. This man, Harley McCabe, competed in his own team, started actually with MLAV Racing a few years ago in the British Talent Cup, but he's now back on that bike for the final 2 weekends of the season. Julian Correa on board the Microlice Cresswell Racing Honda is on the outside of the front row, with Philip Soroviak on board the RS Racing City lifting bike alongside him. And then championship leader Lucas Brown heads the field from pole position, got himself into pole by half a second over the rest of the field. He has a 36-point advantage into the championship with 125 left to go this season. So it's still very much all to play for. Perfect conditions to go racing here, Neil Mackenzie, and I'm sure it's going to be fast and frantic as ever.
As ever, and it is getting to crunch time of the season. Lucas Brown, however, has put such a fantastic season together, immaculate season, winning when he can, being smart when he can, and that was what he did at Thruxton. No podiums at Thruxton, but he beat his main contenders, which is so important for the championship, and I guess he is one rider that will be thinking about this championship. Such a shame that Ryan Frost had a DNF at Thruxton, or he would certainly have been more in contention, but it's still wide open, and anything can happen over these next 4 races. 2 here at Oulton Park, 2 more at Donington in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, 12 laps of action for the riders to come then here. I'm talking to team manager for Fibertech Racing, Nathan, a little bit earlier on. He said he's hoping that Harley McCabe, now on board that Fibertech Honda, is going to be able to bring the fight to the front and just sort of split the pack up a little bit, help Ryan's championship challenge in the last few races of the season. Here are the championship standings, though, coming into this one. You can see Lucas Brown, 38 points, the advantage he has over Emmanuel Brinton in second, who's struggled a little bit for pace so far this weekend. Ryan Frost still in contention there in third in the championship as well. And also Julian Correa not too far adrift there either. So we'll keep an eye out and see what happens. The championship lead actually for Lucas Brown is 36 points, not 38. That graphic incorrect there. Row 1 for this race, though, occupied by Lucas Brown with Philip Soroviak and Julian Correa alongside him on the front row of the grid. Row 2 headed by Harley McCabe, newly on board the Fibertech Honda with Ryan Frost, his teammate, and Harrison Mackay alongside. Row 3, Emmanuel Brinton, Ronnie Harris and Clayton Edmonds. Then row 4 is George Bowes with Scott McPhee and Mason Foster on board the number 88 for company. The 5th row, Alexander Rowan, Ollie Walker and Jack Burrows on board his machine. Then Ben Jalif with Ewan Jones and Charlie Barnes for company on the 6th row. Then row 7 is Josh Raymond Jr. with Bill Harris and Dan Goodman. Row 8 is Peter Willis, Josh Bannister, and then Finan Werity making his debut here this weekend in the R&G British Talent Cup. We should have seen Charlie Huntingford on the back of the grid in 25th place, but he has not made the start of this one for one reason or another. I think he's still recovering from injury, Charlie, so we wish him all the best, and we hope we'll see him out for the final weekend of the season at Donington Park in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, quite envious of the youngsters here today at Oulton. Perfect conditions, lovely little bikes to ride, and a fantastic championship. Lots of these riders, as we've seen in the piece before, thinking about moving on. The British Talent Cup has done its job, and it is time to move on, and they deserve to move on as well. A number of these riders on the grid hoping to get to the Red Bull Rookie MotoGP Cup selection event that's coming up shortly, and all deserve to go there as well. And also, if they can tie that up with a Junior World Championship or a European Talent Cup ride, then it is just the perfect season ahead for them, and they can make their way up on the road to MotoGP.
If I may recorrect myself from earlier, by the way, the championship lead is 38 points for Lucas Brown. My championship standings on my bit of paper in the commentary box were incorrect. So let's see whether Brown is going to be able to extend that or whether others will be able to chip in. 12 laps of action, though, ready to go for race 1 of the R&G British Talent Cup. Red lights are on, lights are out, and we're underway. Lucas Brown gets a good start. Sorobiak also away pretty well and drags alongside the championship leader down towards the first corner. Keep an eye out for Julian Correa coming through on the inside and getting the whole shot into Old Hall Corner. So from the inside of the front row of the grid, it's the American on the microlized Cresswell racing machine that leads the way. Down in towards turn 2 we go, and it's all pretty even Stevens throughout the mid-pack.
Oh, big moment there for Lucas Brown, yeah, on the middle of Cascades on the left there as he headed onto the straight down to Ireland. Big moment on the left-hand side of the tyre.
Yeah, so Brown then now mired right down in the pack, and he's got a lot of work now to do as they come through Island Bend for the first time. Correa's away like a stab rat here at the sharp end of the field. Sorobiak going underneath Ryan Frost for second place as well as they make their way through Shell Oils. But just having a look there at Lucas Brown, he's mired it down in about 10th, 11th, 12th place quite possibly here. So he's got a bit of work to do, and a fair bit more than he was expecting. 10th place he was through the first sector for Lucas Brown, so not the ideal start to his race.
Now, we know Lucas Brown has got pace half a second faster than everyone else throughout qualifying. Doing that on his own, looks like he was touring down the inside. No, he's just passing, just a nice pass there into his chicane for Lucas Brown, make his way through. We know he's got the pace. It's just more difficult for him when he's in the pack. He's certainly got a lot of riders to pass to get in touch with Brown at this point.
Yeah, so coming over the rise of the hill we go in towards Lodge Corner, or in towards Druids and then into Lodge Corner, I should say. Over the crest, and Correa it is that leads the way, trying to pull out an advantage over the rest of the field, but it won't last here in the British Talent Cup, we know that much. So there is Lucas Brown now going through, or trying to, on Harley McCabe for about 4th position. So he's made good progress considering he was 10th across the first sector. He's recovered quite nicely at the end of the first lap. Needs to do that whilst the field is all relatively bunched up, because what we see here in the British Talent Cup is sort of split into groups. You'll get the first 3 or 4, they'll have a bit more pace than the riders behind, clear off into their own group, and you want to make sure that whilst the field's all bunched up here for Brown, that he makes as much progress as possible.
That's so true, Tommy. He has to do it now, because they will split up, and then it gets into group battles. One rider slipstreaming the next, and then toing and throwing, and they do turn into little groups, so he has to try and bridge the gap. Lucas Brown now in 5th, right behind Harley McCabe, but you can see there's a gap between Frost and McCabe. At this point, I'd say half a second, but Lucas Brown, strong on the brakes, into Shell Oils, grabs that place from Harry McCabe, and now he's got a clear track in front of him. He can get his head down and track down his championship rival, Ryan Frost.
Half a second the advantage that Brown had in qualifying over the rest of the field. So he's got good pace underneath him. And I spoke to a couple of riders in the paddock just before we started this race, and they were saying, he was going and doing that on his own. He wasn't waiting for a slipstream or anything along the lines of that. Wasn't riding in a pack. He was just able to consistently set faster lap times than everybody else.
That's right. And I do love one-make championships, but I think to have a special rider, they have to stand out. They have to be the standout rider, and Lucas Brown has been that guy this year, and he's proven to us again what is possible. As you said, he dropped back so much with that opening lap incident, and he's straight back in touch. So yeah, really nice to show us what he's capable of. He's been in the championship for a couple of years, and it is time to move on, but yeah, really good just to see him doing his stuff.
Yeah, looking for a move there on the inside of Ryan Frost down in towards Druids Corner. Thinks better of it as Sorobiak goes past Julian Correa for the race lead. Brinton also making good progress as well. It's a little bit sort of feeling down after qualifying. Didn't seem to have the same pace as he did this time here last year on his first visit to the circuit. Said he's put on a few kilos, gotten a little bit taller, and the setting that he had from 2023 wasn't the same on the bike for this one, and they've had to find their feet a little bit in the practice sessions and have been chasing their tail for the rest of the weekend. But Brinton, now the lights have gone out, is running with the front group, as you see Brown going underneath Ryan Frost down into Cascades.
Nice pass, clean. Yeah, that's exactly where he had his moment in the opening lap. Maybe just a cool left-hand side of the rear tyre on that first lap.
Brinton's coming through here as well. He goes underneath the Fibertech Honda also. Now up into 4th place for Ryan Frost at the sharp end. Correa a little bit wide there through Island Bend. That presents an opportunity for Sorobiak, who tries to sweep it around the outside at Shell Oils. If he can pull that off, that's an absolute worldie there from Philip Sorobiak on board the City Lifting RS racing machine. You don't see many moves being made around the outside at Shell Oils.
You know, it's banked there, so it's okay to run wide, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to pull you back into the fold on the exit. It gives you a bit of safety, but also it can get a little bit dirty out there, little bits of bubbles of rubber coming off tyres, so you have to be really careful when you're wide with shell oils.
Down in towards Hizzies we go. I have to say, the initial group that splintered off is right close back up into the likes of Harley McCabe, Harrison Mackay. They're not far away from these guys now.
They're not, but we have got all the main contenders. All these guys have been stars so far this year and in past years. Soroviak, Correa, Frost, Brown, Brinton, McCabe, Harrison Mackay as well. Another strong rider, tends to come strong towards the end of the races, so expect to see him make his way through it as well.
Yeah, the usual suspects at the sharp end of this race. Down the hill we go, in towards Lodge Corner. Does Correa have a move? No! Brown lunges to the inside. That was a late one for the championship leader, but he throws caution to the wind and goes up into second.
He's so confident, and that pace he had in qualifying, he really has got the potential to get to the front and pull away, but he's lost a couple of places as they head into Old Hall.
Big bump on the front end there for Manuel Brinton. That's going to allow Correa to go through on board the Microlight Cresswell Racing Honda. So Brown there now sort of only lost one position as a result of that lunge to the inside. Was a bit wide on the exit of Lodge Corner, lost all of that momentum and then carried that all the way down into turn one. Soroviak it is that still leads, keeping his powder dry at the moment. 2 victories for Philip so far in 2024, including most recently at Silverstone when it was supporting the MotoGP round earlier on this season. Further podium he took at Thruxton a few weeks ago as well. As we head in towards the Britain chicane, nose-tail action at the sharp end here. Out of it and up the rise in towards the Hizzy chicane we go. And you wonder how long it's going to be before Lucas Brown hits the front. It's a case of when and not if here, isn't it?
Definitely, and he seems to be able to pass on the brakes at will. He's really confident, gets that bike stopped upright. Obviously, he's a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit heavier than some of the other riders, so his drive out the corners is maybe a little bit more limited, but on the brakes, he is an absolute demon.
38 points the advantage that Brown had coming into this race. 45 points it sits at as it stands for now between Lucas Brown and Emmanuel Brinton, but plenty of time for things to change. Indeed, at the next corner for Lucas Brown, up the inside, into Druids and into the race lead for the first time.
It's not an easy pass unless you're just a little bit special. That was a little bit special as he headed in through Druids there, the number 29. Beautiful pass on Philip.
Yeah, dragging his toe there as well, going into that final corner. So he's certainly pushing on quite nicely here, Lucas Brown. Let's see whether he can extend that lead. Down in towards Old Hall here for Julian Correa, up the inside of Soroviak. So he's been shuffled back from the race lead to third position on board the RS Racing City lifting bike. Correa's having a look here on the inside into Cascades, but Brown takes that wider sweeping line and just carries so much momentum through that left-hander.
That is the line, and this is coming into Druids, number 29, Lucas Brown down the inside of Soroviak. Beautiful pass and gapped them at the same time. Oh,
look at this.
Into Highland, 3 abreast.
3 abreast, you don't see many opportunities for that to happen, but in these lighter classes there are more overtaking possibilities compared to some of the larger capacity machines. And Lucas Brown now back through on Soroviak for the lead.
What I like about Lucas Brown's passes is they're not mad lunges and barging riders out the way. He lets them make, he makes the rider in front, let them know he's there so they can see him in his peripheral, and then you can see he just lets the brakes off that little bit more just to get the pass done. So very calculated, very smooth, very accurate.
Got 8 riders all in the same picture here as we come down in towards the Hislop chicane, right back to Ronnie Harris on board the number 66. So there's an opportunity for these riders to get involved there as well. See Ryan Frost, he's just in front of his teammate Harley McCabe. Harley McCabe in turn also not far ahead of Harrison Mackay and Ronnie Harris. Under the trees we go, in towards Druids. This is where Brown took the lead away from Soroviak. And given the pace that we've seen for Brown, you would expect on paper for him to clear off into the distance, but it's not as simple as that in the British Talent Cup.
Not so easy when the riders can easily get in the slipstream, and that's going to help their lap time along the straighter parts of the track. But he certainly does have the pace, he has the skills, he's looking good, and he has that luxury of a nice championship lead that he can push hard, and for him to grab another bunch of points today and extend it even further would be just brilliant.
Just looking at the back there, I think Ronnie Harris may have missed a gear. Maybe he's got a technical problem because he's dropped right off the back of Harrison Mackay and Harley McCabe, who he was close to a few moments ago. Mackay setting the fastest lap overall out of these top 8 riders so far, but Harris there dropping back a fair few bike lengths. Looks like he's been able to continue, so whatever the problem was, it seemed to be a terminal issue for him on the RS racing bike.
Last lap time from Mackay, just 2/10 outside Emmanuel Brinton's previous lap record of 1:47.0. So yeah, typical Harris Mackay coming strong mid-race.
Yeah, Harrison is at good pace so far in 2024, and he'll be hoping for some stronger results. He's had one top 5 finish. That was at Silverstone earlier on this season. 2 top 5 finishes, in fact, actually, because he was also in the top 5 in the opening race at Brands Hatch in July. So we're looking to try and add to that tally. Currently sits in 7th place, does the number 61. Through the Hislop chicane we go once more. Nose to tail here between the top 3, and they've broken away a little bit here from Ryan Frost and also Emmanuel Brinton to a point there as well.
Lucas Brown putting in some fast sectors on his own while he's leading.
Yeah, not able to build any much of a gap though, as Correa has a look to the inside of Soroviak into Druids. Nothing doing for the American at the moment. A lot of riders coming into this weekend talking about their future. Harrison Mackay also looking for other opportunities as well, and likes of Emmanuel Brinton all in the same picture there. Brinton wants to go over to race in the Junior World Championship. The likes of Lucas Brown, he'll have to move on to pastures new in 2025 as well. Further down the order, you've got a good battle going on here just on the fringes of the top 10. George Bowes, Alexander Rowan and Clayton Edmonds all running nose to tail with one another. That's the thing with the British Talent Cup. Wherever you look, there's always overtakes on the track.
Yeah, there's great battles all the way through. Just looking down the jump, Scott McPhee, the good run. He's had a few good runs this year, but languishing in 13th at the minute. He's another rider that's hoping to go to the Red Bull Rookies MotoGP Cup selection, so wish him all the best with that.
Yeah, Scott just having a little battle there with Mason Foster on board the 88. Oh, big wobble on the front end there for Soroviak into Shell Oils.
Lucas Brown having a bit of a minute, adjusting his visor.
He's got enough time in hand.
Yeah, he's certainly got enough points on the board, but you can't imagine him not doing some last lap outbreaking manoeuvres. He's so strong in the brakes. Any gap he does lose on the exit corners, he catches straight back up in the brakes. And the same is the case here as he gets a little bit closer to Correa as they head into Hazy chicane one more time.
Ryan Frost now latching onto the back of these top 3. Frost would love to get himself back onto the podium for a 4th successive weekend in the RNG British Talent Cup. Finished 2nd at the first race of the weekend in Thruxton's. Had a couple of victories both at Brands Hatch and Silverstone, and also Donington Park earlier on this year as well.
Surprised to see Emmanuel Brinton dropping off the back here.
Yeah, Brinton's struggled a little bit with pace and setting, as I said, so far this weekend. So I wonder whether that's just coming back to bite him a little bit, because you can see Harley McCabe and Harrison Mackay are all very close to one another, and Brinton, we're used to seeing him fighting for victories. At the moment, he's struggling to hang on to 5th place.
He'll be disappointed with this one. He's disappointed when he doesn't win, so being off the podium is never an option for Emmanuel. Ryan
Frost just lurking at the back of this trio, ready to try and pounce for things at the moment. You can see him there, lap record he's set, 1:46.779.
It's a strong lap time.
Yeah, stonking lap time there for him. That was about half a second quicker. The likes of Soroviak and Brown, about 7/10 of a second faster, I should say, than Correa as well.
I love to see that rider there in 4th position, number 24, and then just showing how that little bit of magic, how much pace they do have. 3/10 under the existing lap record is very impressive.
Down in towards Shell Oils we go. A few laps left remaining of this one. It's anybody's guess as to what is going to happen. And well, Lucas Brown, he's got a commanding advantage in the championship. As it stands for now, he's going to be increasing that lead over Emmanuel Brinton. Do you think he's going to be thinking about that at this point? You know, wondering if he should just gather up the points. I mean, it's likely he'll be fighting for the victory, but if he can't for whatever reason in the final couple of laps, do you think he'll just be thinking about the bigger picture?
With the season he's got and the advantage he has, that I think definitely wants to win more races and just underline how strong he's been. Get the championship boxed off. He's going to be in an extremely strong position if he wins both races this weekend. Yeah, he'll need, if he takes 50-point advantage going to Donington, it's job done.
Well, it's consistency that's helped Brown this year. He's been on the podium every single round of the championship, but for Thruxton, actually, the last time we were out. His worst finish in 2024 was 5th place in the opening race of the weekend at Thruxton. So that just goes to show how impressive his performance has been, sort of almost Casey Stoner-esque consistency as he now goes underneath Correa for the race lead down at Lodge.
Another textbook pass, beautiful. And a good way to test the water, but if that were the last lap, he's obviously going to come over the line in 2nd, so he has to be careful. He needs a gap if he's going to think about that on the last lap.
So Sorowiak now shuffled back a couple of laps ago. If you remember rightly, he was leading, and he's now back in fourth position. Correa there now in front of this one. Still seeking a second victory of the season. A couple of podiums last time out at Thruxton. And a few third-place finishes so far this year as well.
Beautiful exit out of Cascades there for Correa. Just got on the throttle nicely, mid-corner. Just great drive. Used the camber of the track. Got a fantastic drive down to Island Bend.
Yeah, was able to use the momentum he got on the opening lap, if you remember, to get into the lead and just clear off into the distance, really, wasn't he? Through in towards Britain's we go. Ryan Frost there. I wonder how long it's going to be before he tries to challenge for the lead. Coming out of the Britain chicane, over the crest of the hill and down in towards Hizzies. You feel this bubbling up quite nicely, can't you? It's going to start kicking off at some point, but they're just keeping their powder relatively dry at the moment. And it's quite nice to see, really, actually, because normally we're seeing elbow bashing and handlebar bashing in the British Talent Cup throughout the majority of the race. But for now, they're keeping things quite calm and controlled.
Yeah, we know Lucas Brown has got the late braking card up his sleeve. He can pretty much pull that anywhere. He's obviously passing in there, but Ryan Frost did a good job that time. Lost time on the exit, though.
Yeah, just
Lucas Brown gained time.
I wonder if he was going to just hold the line there, but did run it a little bit wide. That leaves him under threat here from Correa going into the next corner. Brown's there ready to try and pick up the pieces then as well. So 3 to go at the end of this one. Correa it is that leads, Brown in second, and then across the line, side by side, with Brown versus Sorowiak actually for third position. Down in towards Old Hall Corner. And Frost, the front end, chattering away, but he takes the lead on board the Fibertech Honda. 53 points the deficit he had over Brown in the championship coming into this weekend. And they want to try and decrease that. A lunge to the inside there for Brown for third place. That pushes Sorowiak a little bit wide. Now you can see they're starting to get a bit more feisty and starting to pick up the pace a little bit more here.
Little moment there for Lucas Brown coming on the start-finish straight. And this move down into the last turn. Lucas Brown having a moment there on the exit. Oh, just a little tuck from the front. Not sure what went on there. Very unlike him.
Also quite late in the corner for the front end to tuck as well, wasn't it?
It's obviously, I mean, he looks so smooth and so much in control, but he's obviously on the limit.
Just looking on the timing screen, Alexander Rowan's just dropped a couple of places. Don't think he's come off the bike, but he's certainly lost out to Ronnie Harris and George Bowes as they come down in towards Hizzies once more.
Lucas Brown's got to dig deep now.
He has, hasn't he? He's not having this all his own way. I thought it was going to be a case of him clearing off into the distance, given the pace we saw from him, but he's really having to get his elbows out here, quite literally.
So yeah, lost time there on the exit as head up Clay Hill.
He's now going to come under attack from Philip Sorowiak, who goes through into third position. So under the trees we go into Druids Corner.
Oh, another pass there.
Lunge to the inside.
Yeah, it's a bit sketchy as well. A tiny moment in the middle of Druids.
Yeah, he's not having this all his own way, is he? Meanwhile, at the sharp end, neither is Julian Correa, because Ryan Frost is still very much in touching distance, still holds the fastest lap in this race of that 1:46.779 from a handful of laps ago for Ryan Frost. But look at the top two. They've now built a fair bit of daylight because Sorowiak and Brown have been battling amongst themselves, and now the top two have gotten away into the distance.
0.7 of the gap between second and third now. Yep. I think for Lucas Brown, though, he doesn't need to take any risk. He has got that.
Oh, look at that, though. Again, his favourite move on the inside into Cascades. Doesn't push Sorowiak quite as wide.
Every corner is his favourite, but much pass anyway. He's passed at every corner on the track so far.
Well, he knows he needs to get a move on because he can see those two clearing off into the distance. Sorowiak back through up the inside to Island Bend. It's a brave move there, and you need a willing dancing partner. Thankfully, Brown wise to that one. Sorowiak carrying greater momentum around the outside through Shell Oils.
He's too far away now. His Achilles heel is the drive out of the corners because he is slightly bigger and taller than the other riders.
Yeah, they lost, as you say, about 0.7 of a second over that last lap compared to the top two, did Sorowiak and Brown. So is the race victory possibly slipping through Brown's fingers, and is it going to allow an opportunity here for Ryan Frost to close his deficit down from third in the championship? Potentially.
Well, what he mustn't do is get frustrated and find himself on the grass and lose a bunch of points, because they've got a few championship contenders in this fight, in this battle of four. So this Brown needs to bring it home. So
Julian Correa then leads the field up in towards the left hand, or the right hander, I should say, of Druids. After going through Clay Hill, one more corner left, and it's one lap to go. It's Correa and Frost out in front of this one. I think that Lucas Brown's just going to have to settle for third best here unless these two at the front start duffing one another up, and it brings them back into Brown and Sorowiak's viewpoint. But at the moment, they're too far away.
Well, Lucas Brown's going to have to throw a Super Bowl lap at this. It could be a fast lap, but Sorowiak is going to have something to say about that. He gets into turn one, but these two at the front still swapping positions.
Yeah, they're knocking 7 bells on one another here, aren't they, now, here between Ryan Frost and Julian Correa. Then down in towards Cascade, looking for the inside line. There is Correa, but nothing do for him. Frost having that wider momentum, that sweeping line around the outside. Frost and Sorowiak still in third and fourth position. Coming through into Island Bend, we've seen moves being made there, and Correa decides to lunge it through on the inside of Ryan Frost into the right hand, the left-hander, and then into the right of Shell Oils, and Lucas Brown once again underneath Sorowiak for third place.
I think Philip Sorowiak knew that move was coming from Brown. He knows he's strong in there. They're getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, half a lap to go then here, and Correa's trying to check out with this one. You've got to be careful to not go too wide on the exit of Britons, because you lose momentum and carry that all the way down into Hislops. Thankfully, he got a good exit out of there, and Ryan Frost not close enough to launch a move on the inside. Realistically, there's only a couple of opportunities now left for Ryan Frost, and he needs a stonker of an exit coming through this next part of the circuit and up over Clay Hill to be within touching distance. But Correa has timed this one absolutely perfectly, it seems, here so far, Neil.
But Ryan Frost is quite strong into Druids. He's close enough.
Yeah, 8
He's brave. Oh, he's thinking about nice wide sweeping line, get a drive out here, maybe get down the inside of Julian Correa into the final corner.
Look at this, nose-tail action, and Frost is going to have a lunge to the inside. You can sense it coming, and here he goes into the final turn. Ryan Frost on the inside, Correa on the outside. It's going to be a drag to the line, surely, for the victory then here for race one. A good exit, though, for Ryan Frost as he comes across the timing line on board the Fibertech Honda to take victory. His fourth of the season. Ryan Frost, a fantastic performance, a greatly timed move in the final stages of that one to take victory from the American. And then Lucas Brown in third position. Further down the order, it's still not over here as well. You've got George Bowes with Scott McPhee, who's made great progress through the field on board the number 19, just ahead of Mason Foster and Clayson Edmonds on the fringes of the top 10 as they come to take the checkered flag. But a fantastic ride there from Ryan Frost, closing down the deficit to Lucas Brown in the Riders' Championship by just a few points. But nonetheless, an important few points that could pay dividends in the latter half, or the latter few races, I should say, of the 2024 season. There is Ryan Frost on board the Fibertech Honda coming round in towards Shell Oils, having taken his fourth win of 2024. A fantastic performance ahead of Julian Correa. And then Lucas Brown in third place, back on the podium again. Well, great ride from Ryan Frost. Exactly what he needed to do. As I said earlier on, Neil, I was down talking to the team manager at Fibertech Honda going into this one, and he said, I reckon we could see Ryan on the podium, if not challenging for the victory. He didn't think, despite Lucas's pace in practice, that it was going to go all his own way.
Lucas looked like he had the upper hand, but I've loved Ryan Frost's last lap. I love the fact that he was patient, he used his head, he used the strategy, particularly up into the Druids section. He could have easily had a go at Julian into the Druids on getting underneath them, but then that would have messed up his exit. But he swept out wide, pulled it back, got a perfect drive down to the last corner, and then did that block pass. So I really admire his patience and his skill, and the fact that he did that. It's easy to get desperate and think just lunge to the front and see what happens, but he had a plan and it worked.
Well, great job then from Ryan Frost. Great for Lucas Brown as well. Podium for him, continuing his near clean streak of being on the podium in every round so far this year, but for the blot on his copybook at Thruxton a few weeks ago. But nonetheless, he's finished every single race in 2024 and has a commanding advantage of the championship coming into the second race of the weekend here tomorrow. As the riders make their way now, they're back into pit lane. And time for the plaudits and the celebrations then to begin here at Oulton Park. And it's a Fibertech Honda on top. So Ryan Frost takes his fourth win of 2024. Fantastic job from the Fibertech Honda rider. Julian Correa finishes best of the rest in second position, went right down to the checkered flag between those two. Lucas Brown, a podium for him. Didn't quite have what it took to take the fight to the front for the victory, but nonetheless a very impressive result for him ahead of Soroviak, Mackay, Brinton down in 6th position after struggling with a setup and pace this weekend ahead of McCabe, Harris, George Bowes and then Scott McPhee inside the top 10. The final points finishers there, Alexander Rowan, Charlie Barnes and Ollie Walker on board his Walker Racing Honda. And the championship standings then, after 14 races, with just 4 left to run in 2024. Lucas Brown has a 44-point advantage over Ryan Frost. Emmanuel Brinton now tied on points for 2nd position there as well. And Julian Correa still mathematically in with a shout. 100 points left to play for in 2024. Still could go one of 5 riders' ways. Further down the order, you can see the points finishers there. Still very close for the lower points positions in the Riders' Championship here.
Well, Ryan Frost, number 24, that's your 3rd win of the year. It's just put you up to 2nd in the championship and a new lap record to boot. So all in all, that's a pretty good weekend's work.
No, yeah, I didn't expect to be here after qualifying. You know, I've had some people putting me down over the year. But I'd like to just say this is where I belong and I believe I can be here. So, yeah.
Another race tomorrow. Keep up the good work, huh?
Thank you.
Well done, Ryan.
Thank you.
Superb job then from Ryan Frost. Victory number 4 of 2024. And continuing his podium successions over the last 4 rounds as well. Last time he wasn't on the podium was back at Snetterton earlier on this season, where he had a DNF and a 5th place finish. Very impressive performances from the number 24. Great also, once again, for Lucas Brown. Consistency has been key for the number 29 on board the Sencat Honda, and he finishes on the podium once again. 2nd place for Julian Correa on board the Microlite Cresswell Racing Honda. Tops of the podium he got on the opening round of the season back in Navarra. He's had a fairly good run of podiums ever since. 2nd place for him, his first 2nd place finish since Oulton Park earlier on this year. And Ryan Frost taking his 4th win of the 2024 season. Brilliant job on board the Fibertech Honda for the rider from Banbury. Now time for the trophies to be presented. 2nd place there for Julian Correa. Hasn't been an easy season for him, of course, with the sad passing of John Cresswell. But he's been able to dig very deep and put in some strong performances. But again, a great job from Lucas Brown, taking a podium here, but also Ryan Frost, as I said, his 4th win of the season.
Boys, you're on TV. Gives you a good side. As the 2 Englishmen.
Highlights then from the opening race of the weekend for the R&G British Talent Cup saw Lucas Brown starting on pole position, but it was a fantastic start from Philip Soroviak and Julian Correa to take the whole shot into the first corner. Emmanuel Brinton was featuring at the sharp end of the field in the opening stages of the race and was right on the back of those 3, but eventually would drop back through the field to finish in 6th position. Lucas Brown was at the sharp end of it. Likewise, Philip Soroviak, Correa, as well as Ryan Frost, who managed to close up onto the back of that leading trio down in towards the next few laps. Correa leading the way at this point from Ryan Frost, and then Lucas Brown closing up on board that Sencat Honda after a challenging start to his race. He would eventually go on to be very close to the podium. And here is Ryan Frost's move on the inside of Julian Correa for the race lead. Coming across the line to take his 4th win of the season ahead of Correa and Brown completing the podium.